Today I want to talk to you about the golden rule. Capital G, capital R, the golden rule. And the golden rule is kind of like a moral benchmark, I suppose, a way that we can check ourselves to ensure that we're behaving in a way that makes us a force for good in the world rather than the opposite. And basically the way the golden rule works is, you'll have all heard it before, treat others as you'd like to be treated. And so rather than there being 35 or 40 rules that you have to remember in order to live a good life, you just got this one thing: treat others as you would like to be treated. And it's really easy to remember. It's a really useful rule of thumb. It's not perfect, obviously. There's certain ways in which we can sometimes miss the other person, because we're focusing on, how we'd like to be treated and missing the individual unique way that they would like instead. It can drag us into a place of, well, I wouldn't mind, so why do you mind? So it's not completely perfect, but as a rule of thumb, it really is pretty good. Now, I know a lot of people follow this, even if they're not following it absolutely consciously. This kind of moral compass, if you like, of treat others as I'd like to be treated myself. So if I wouldn't like them doing it to me, then actually I won't do it to them. It's a really solid sort of rule of thumb that lots of people use. One of the things I also noticed, though, is that people use it in an almost complete way, but not quite complete way. Because very often people who use this will use this for everybody except one person. And that one person is themselves. And so I just want to dig into that, because if you follow this moral principle, as many people do, that you treat other people the way you'd like to be treated, then doesn't it follow that we need to treat ourselves the way we'd like to be treated too? And ourselves is often the person we completely miss out of the equation. And so we end up giving ourselves the short straw, giving ourselves the mucky end of the stick, if you like. And yet, if we find this moral compass, this rule of thumb, an important one, that we need to treat others as we'd like to be treated, then the reverse is true as well. That we really need to treat ourselves the way we would treat others. So that harsh, critical insult that you might give yourself, we can reverse the question and say, would I treat others this way? Because if you wouldn't treat others that way, the golden rule kind of implies that we needn't be treating ourselves that way either. If we would ensure that we miss out on something, would we treat others that way? Would we ensure that they miss out? Well, no, we wouldn't. And so, once again, in order for us to be following that moral rule fully, we have to include ourselves as well. If we're going to treat others the way we would like to be treated, then we also need to treat ourselves the way that we would treat others too. We have to treat ourselves the way we'd like to be treated. Otherwise, we're not following that rule consistently. And so I'm inviting you to look at it this way, because it may well be that you miss yourself out of the equation in the golden rule. That when you treat others as you'd like to be treated, you actually don't treat yourself that way instead. And so next time you're about to miss out on something, next time you're about to do yourself down, next time you're going to deny yourself an opportunity, or you're going to pick up the mucky end of the stick, or you just call yourself appalling names and insults. Remind yourself that in the rest of life, you find this golden rule quite an important principle, to treat other people the way you'd like to be treated. And so ask yourself in those moments, would I treat them this way? Would I treat my friend this way? Would I treat a close relative this way? Would I even treat a stranger in this way? And if the answer to those is no, then my invite to you is don't treat yourself that way either. Because in order to follow this rule fully, we need to include ourselves in the equation too. So we treat others the way we'd like to be treated, and we treat ourselves the way we'd like to be treated too. And the way that we know that we're doing that is we can simply ask, would I treat my friend this way? And if the answer's no, then we don't do it to ourselves either. So I hope that's been useful. If it has, please share it along, and you can subscribe to the podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever it happens to be. You can find all the YouTube videos at sliceoftherapy.com, and you can work with me directly. I'm Alun Parry at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you again tomorrow.